The government has granted itself power it is not entitled to. There's no public oversight. The result is people like myself have the latitude to go further than they are allowed to. Edward Snowden. So the 2007 immigration bill, this is Baby Bush, right? George W. 2007, 1 year before he gets out of office, 4 years after the Iraq War. Ted Kennedy, Amy Klobuchar, apparently she was, one of the main people spearheading this thing. So Minnesota, Ted Kennedy, whatever state he's from, Baby Bush, Connecticut. Now, Joe Biden, he's going to say that Bernie had voted against the 2007 immigration bill, and 6 million people would have been U.S. citizens today had Bernie had voted for it. Many Latino groups said that there were provisions in that 2007 immigration bill that was akin to slavery. That's what Bernie is saying. So that's why he said he voted against it. So I just looked into it a little bit just to see what this thing was about. And the Dreamers were kept, so it would have protected the Dreamers, the 2008 immigration bill. There would have been more restrictions on future immigration. There was more border security. There was a guest worker program. They were expanding it. And then there was 370 miles of fence and 20,000 more Border Patrol agents. So this bill did a lot of different things. It would have, protected the Dreamers, offered, I guess, a pathway to citizenship. But it would have also separated families. It would have increased deportations. It would have been a crackdown on the border. A wall would have been built, 370 miles of fence. So people talk about how they're against Donald Trump's wall. What's a fence, a wall? What's the difference? 370 miles, that's a fucking wall. So that would have been the Baby Bush wall. And then I saw an old interview where Bernie said that it shrinks the middle class, it lowers wages. So he did say something about the Southern Poverty Law Center, had said that the guest worker program was nearly identical to slavery. The guest workers are virtual slaves in America. So he was opposed to that because of the human rights violation, and then the virtual slaves come into America, shrinks the middle class, lowers everybody's wages. And so he was attacking this bill from an economic argument, and he was also from a, moral argument too. So guest worker program, Dreamers, these are, I think the guest worker would be a good thing if people want to come here to work. I think that's fantastic. Dreamers, I think that's a good thing too, protecting all those dreamers. The wall, I'm not particularly against a fence or a wall or anything like that, but it just shows you the hypocrisy. They're going to sit there and say, Bernie, why didn't you sign on to this immigration bill? But then they're going to say that Donald Trump's wall is the worst idea, ever conceived of by mankind. 20,000 more Border Patrol. So he's increasing Border Patrol. They would have separated families. We're not going to be putting kids in cages. I thought we were going to stop doing that. Deportations would have been on the rise. Future immigration, there would have been a bunch of restrictions on it. And so, yeah, that's important to understand that it was a complex bill that had a lot of moving parts, and ultimately the economic argument, the human rights violation of the guest worker. It was also, Baby Bush, and talking about how Republicans have been obstructionist pieces of shit, how obstructionist piece of shit they were to Obama. This is mild. This is small. So Baby Bush didn't get his way. Amy Klobuchar was rushing to get Baby Bush's way. Ted Kennedy was on it, and that's a powerhouse. His name goes far. So they probably could have, I don't know. Baby Bush tried. So I don't hate, I think it's good on Baby Bush for trying, but I don't hate Bernie for voting against it at all. That's okay with me. Citizens with a conscience are not going to ignore wrongdoing simply because they'll be destroyed for it. The conscience forbids it. Edward Snowden. Peace.